being here. This is the Rundown with Ramon. Today, we're going to talk about all things sales, probably more, knowing myself as I go here and there with Bethany Nonami. And I should have asked you, Bethany, before we started how to pronounce your last name. So
that's right. You got it.
Today, we're going to talk to Bethany Nonami all about sales and probably more things as well. Bethany, it's so good to have you here on the Rundown with Ramon. So thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Super excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. Bethany, before we get into probably tweak it towards sales, feel free, take your time and break down a bit who you are, your background, and what brought you to the amazing moment where you get to be on the Rundown with Ramon.
Yeah, so I grew up in technology. I started in technology on these things that were called a green screen. It was before Windows.
I know those.
And there wasn't a mouse, and dot matrix printers. I don't know if you remember those.
I do.
It would take a really long time.
Epson 300. That was mine. Epson 300.
I love it. So the last 30 years I've been in technology, but the last 27 years I've been in sales. So I just love anything that has to do with technology and making our lives easier and making things work better. But then I switched over into sales, and what I realized when I went out on my own is sales is something that is difficult for many of us. And but it is the lifeblood for small business owners. So we just have to realize that we have to sell and we have to get comfortable with selling. And you and I are in a mastermind together, and a huge fan. Ramon is like the best human on earth. So I'm super excited to be here because your audience, I have no doubt that if they are empowered and they have no financial stress and money is in abundance, the world will be a better place. So
I agree.
It's our duty to sell and serve people.
Yes, selling and service people. I love that as well. And Nonami, can you tell people how we can reach you, and then also recap what you do for people, what you do, who you serve, what you do for people, and then tell us how to reach you. And then we'll dive into some tips and insights on sales, selling, and more.
Yeah. So people can reach me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite place in the world. And I help small business owners learn how to do business development, elevate their profile on LinkedIn, and leverage certification. So working with the government and corporations.
I love that. I love that. And then so we can just go into LinkedIn, Bethanie, Nonami, Nonami, because it's right there in front of me. I love that. That's how we can find you. So let's jump right into it. First, I do want to get a bit political. I'm just going to go right into politics. Sorry about that. I'm going to do it. Me and my son had a vicious fight. Like we would slam each other against the wall. Here's my question for you. Is sales mean you have to be a shark? That's my political question for you. He's what you call a high ticket closer, and kind of like he won't let you off the phone. You know, some of the braggadocious people, you may have been to the big events with 10,000 people in New York. So that's just when I think of like the best sales, like Bethany, no, don't you love your family? Why aren't you buying this camera or buying the 50,000, whatever the thing may be? Right. Is that what like the best true sales is? I don't know where I got that from, but since you're the sales guru, that's a personal just thought of mine. Is that what real sales is about, or is that maybe just a version of it? Can you help unpack that for me a bit?
No, I think that's a version of it. And that's kind of the used car salesman version. That's the version of us that just don't want to ever buy a car. And we don't, because we don't want to deal with that person. Okay. And I think if you can reframe your mindset around selling, is really you serving and helping. And sales is your sacred vehicle to get your gift to the world. If we're a small business owner, many of us went into business to solve a problem from a place of service. But then we realized we have to pay bills, we have to pay team, we have to pay technology, and that requires money. And if we have this scarcity and we're not selling because we're afraid, or we're not stepping out there to do the things that are uncomfortable, then things suffer. So selling is really just us showing up and serving. If we don't sell the thing, our gift, the way that we solve the problem, we're doing a disservice to the person that's in the pain. And we can't. We have to show up.
I love that. One more thing I have, and then I want to give you the time to unpack kind of maybe sales 101 for us. Feel free to take it where you want. But just another burning question I have is it fair to say that if you know you're talking to somebody who's not the right fit, stop and say, good for you, go forth? Or is there some other version of it? I'm just curious, is there somewhere where Bethany would say, just, oh, you don't need a car, you don't know how to drive, you don't like cars, whatever. Great. I'm not a fit. Or are you trying to squeeze everyone you can in? They got to buy this car. They got to buy this chapstick, whatever it may be, if you get what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, we have to check our mindset, because if we know our business bank account is low and we know personal bills are coming up, then sometimes we say yes to money that isn't good money.
I've done that.
And we're afraid to say no. Like, we don't have another call scheduled on the pipe on the calendar. So what do? We know this person's in the right fit, but we have to take the money. So we have to make sure that we're okay with saying no, and saying no to the wrong person, and also saying no to people that don't get your value. Because there are some people that are wonderful people, but they don't understand the value of what you deliver, which means they may not be happy, which means there's nothing that you can do that they will get. And they'll be like, oh, I see the value in this. And we feel it and we hear the little spidey senses, but sometimes we turn it off because of all the other noise in our heads. So I think it's absolutely fine to say, okay, and no, this isn't a good fit, but you have to be okay with that. And that is uncomfortable and feels scary sometimes. And then the other thing you need to understand is that sometimes the person that has the money to invest in you may not be the right fit, because they're not going to do the work and they're not going to be accountable. So there's a qualifying question that we ask: how much time have you spent trying to solve this problem? How much money have you wasted trying to solve this problem? And why do you think it hasn't happened yet? And what you're listening for when you ask that question is, well, we brought in this trainer, but she didn't really get our culture. And we bought this course, but the course was really hard to understand. And we did this and we did that. And they're not being accountable. So if they don't say, I don't know, I feel like we've tried everything, I feel like we've done the work, it just hasn't worked, then they're accountable. Then they'll do the work. But if they have this list of things they've tried and nothing has worked, then that might not be the right fit, because you might be the next thing on that list. So you have to walk away and be able to identify and hear the signals when it's like the universe is telling you, the creator is telling you, like, run far, fast.
You hear the deep voice, get it, run, and the music starts to play. Bethany, can I ask you to give us a playbook into, I'm sure there's no average client of yours or customer, but give us a scenario, no names, no, change the names and places, but help us understand what's it like working with you. And I think usually I don't ask it that direct, but I think it'll be a good lesson for all of us. So, for example, if you know what I'm trying to ask, like the average person or the last person the past 6 months came to you with a problem. Yes. What was the problem? And what did you walk them through over X period of time, if that makes sense? Kind of just unpack a story so we can understand, oh, maybe we can learn from you and get a tip. This is what I'm doing wrong, or this is what Bethany taught them. This is what I should be doing, something like that. Is that helpful? Can you just walk us through a sales tips or something like that?
Yeah, so a very common example is a small business owner and doing all the things, like marketing everywhere. She's like, I have to be on Instagram and I have to be on Facebook, even though nobody buys from there, but I feel like I should be there. And now I have to learn how to dance so I can be on TikTok, because that's where everybody says that people need to be. And I think sometimes we need to realize that we need to be where our buyer is. So if you're selling B2B, people are on LinkedIn. If you're selling to corporations, if you're selling to government, if you're selling to nonprofits or charity, a lot of our buyers are on LinkedIn. So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll take a look at, who are you selling to? And are you positioned as an expert and a thought leader? And the thing that people don't understand about LinkedIn is 99% of our buyers are there, but only 1% of people show up. So there's a lot of lurkers. There's a lot of people watching content. There's a lot of people searching for professional services, searching for experts, for speakers, and they can't find them. Why? Because we're like everybody else, and most of us don't show up on LinkedIn. And our perception is, oh, well, I have to be in a 3-piece suit and I have to have my pantyhose on and I have to show up as like this professional version. And I'm not in corporate. I don't have a job. And that's where we have to kind of reframe. LinkedIn is an opportunity for anybody to become a thought leader in front of decision makers and buyers with a budget. So we have to figure out, like, where is the place that our buyers are? And then how can I show up and add value? The other thing that I think people often do is they post just to post. So they're like, I got to market. I got to check it off the list, like social media post done. But if you can turn that content into, what are the conversations that you have with a client? I've seen you, Ramon, you do videos, you're walking down the street, you're walking through the airport, but you're adding value because it comes to you in the moment.
Yes.
That's okay. It doesn't have to be with great lighting and great sound. The value is what matters. And if you have that thought in the middle of the day, you take a note out of Ramon's book and you record wherever you are. So I think if you can frame it that marketing really should support sales, it's objections, it's educating, it's adding value, then you're positioning yourself and you're improving the buyer's journey, regardless of if they buy from you or not. You're making it better because you're showing up and you're adding value. So really just taking that client that was doing all the things everywhere and saying, okay, we're going to position you as a thought expert. And she went across industries. So she could work with universities, she could work with corporations, she could work with healthcare. And you can still show up as that thought leader that solves that problem, even if you cross industries, even if you have multiple products and services. So getting that clarity is really hard. And as you know, as a business owner, we go through iterations and we pivot and you're like, maybe I should do this. Let me try this pitch. And you have to figure out what fits for you. But you'll get the signals from the market when you start getting people reaching out to you saying, hey, can you help us with this problem? Hey, do you also do this thing? Because we're unique and special. And they're reaching out to you to see if you can help them. That's where you really know, okay, now it's clear what I do. And you just got to keep testing until it lands.
I love that. We're talking to Bethany Nonami. Bethany, can you one more time remind people what you do, who you serve, how you do it? Got a few more questions for you. And feel free, if there's something you wanted to bring up that and ask, no problem at all. Say, Ramon, you know what? I want to bring this up. But one more time, can you just give us a summary of who you are? Somebody could have just tuned in just now, like, wait a minute, this is good. And they don't want to have to rewind and go all the way back. Don't worry, people. We're going to do it right now. Bethany, talk to the people. Who are you? Who do you serve? Tell us one more time.
So my name is Bethany Nonami, and I work with small business owners, and I help them get certified so they can leverage certifications to do business with government and corporations. So if you identify as women, minority, veteran, disabled, we help you elevate your business profile primarily on LinkedIn and through email so you can get larger contracts, so you can make more money, spend time with the people that matter the most, and elevate the world and the communities around you.
I love that. It's powerful. Definitely check out Bethany Nonami. I not certify her. I would call it good housekeeping seal of approval. I don't know. The political people do that. I endorse her. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, thanks.
I endorse Bethany. Bethany, sales and marketing, same thing, different things, cousins, related. Talk to us, demystify for us that aspect of sales versus marketing. Facebook ads versus having a client call, sending a proposal versus, I don't know, doing a bunch of TikTok videos. Help us understand these broad buckets.
So marketing has changed. So sales 30 years ago, we'd have to find the yellow pages. We'd have to find a company. We would call them and find out what they do. Now buyers do all of their research before they ever reach out to you. So if you have a website and you're like, oh, my website's up there, it's still hard to find. There's a gazillion websites on Google. If you have a LinkedIn profile and you're like, I got a LinkedIn profile, but it doesn't say the value that you deliver or the services that you deliver or the transformations that you deliver, that's the value of marketing. So you have to be able to clearly articulate, these are the case studies. These are people that we've worked with. This is what they were struggling with. Then they found us. And now this is where they are. So that framework is a super easy framework to remember. It's before, then they found you, and there's after. So they felt like this before, then they found you. Now they feel like this. And you don't know what type of content does well. So sometimes people relate to the problems because they're so deep in the problems, they don't even have hope. They can't even imagine the outcome. And sometimes people resonate with the outcome.
Mm.
If you are marketing to business owners, to corporations, then I find these networks like Facebook and Facebook ads challenging, because sometimes that's like their personal time and they don't want to be interrupted.
Mm.
But if you have something that's of value and educational, YouTube is a great platform. LinkedIn is a great platform. There's so many groups and meetups and conferences, so many places that you can be found. But your marketing should be establishing you trust, authority, credibility. You're a leader. You're a dynamic thinker in your industry. And that is the purpose of marketing. They have to trust you. They know, trust, like. You hear this thing in marketing, like they have to know you and trust you and like you. I would love for you to like me. It's our human desire to be liked. I would love for you to know me personally and for us to have a relationship. But at the end of the day, you have to trust that I can help you get the thing. And if we're not using marketing to build trust, sales are going to be tough. They're going to be difficult. You have to build that trust during the sales process, during sales calls, in your proposal. But if you use marketing to build trust for you, then really your sales calls are logistics. How much? When can you do it? Can you be here on that date? And it's just closing. So it's just so important that we don't do one without the other, and they should support each other. So marketing and sales teams should work together towards a common revenue goal, towards common conversions, make converting customers into raving customers, into referral customers. And the goal is that we all work towards the same goals and the same beat.
Yeah, I think it's powerful. Would you say then, is it fair to say that marketing or sales has stayed the same over the past many years, notwithstanding what you just said about social media, but is it the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel? Are those Zig Ziglar? I don't know, whatever the guy or girl said it like 5 million years ago. Are those things still relevant? Where, and I suspect you'll say yes, but feel free to disagree. But, trust that whether it's social media, podcasts, what we're doing here, we're both, there's nobody buying anything right now. We haven't sent them credit card number, but we're building trust. And then at some point, whatever you call the part of it, let's get it a phone or go deeper or do something else. And at some point, pay for it. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yes. So sales, 1%, 1 to 3% are buying at any time, buying a dog, buying a house, buying shoes. So if 1 to 3% are buying, let's just say 1% are buying, then they will find you at the right moment. But the other 97 to 99%, you have to nurture and convert into sales. So if you have marketing, then top of funnel is always going to be there, because there's always going to be someone that's having the problem but doesn't know there's a solution. And they certainly don't know you're the solution. And they may not even know what the problem is. They may just know something's off. They may know that there must be a better way, but they may not be able to articulate the problem. So that's where all of these top of funnel, middle of funnel, those things still exist. Absolutely. And then sales still happens. It happens differently in the digital world now, because I can buy a book, I can buy a course. I never have to talk to anyone. And there are some products that you can sell that are all the way up to $2,500, $5,000 without ever talking to a person. And there are other things that you have to get on a call. You have to have a conversation with someone. It could have been because they tried something in the past and it didn't work, and they don't want to do that again. It could be because it's a high price point. It could be because they're pulling from their home and they have to know that this is the right fit. So you still have to have these skills, and it's just human nature. If you're coming from a place of service, if you're helping, it's natural. It doesn't feel icky. It doesn't feel like you're being manipulative if you're really coming from this place to serve.
I love that. Bethany, listen, it's been great being with you today. Anything I didn't ask you, anything else you wanted to share? We can go on 6 more hours if you want, but I feel I got a nugget. We know that word, Bethany, got a nugget from you today. Yeah. Anything you wanted to mention that you say, wait, Ramon, the rundown with the Ramon audience, I want to share this with them. Anything else that you wanted to bring up, feel free.
Yes. So understand that if selling is not a part of your daily life or a regular routine, it's going to be uncomfortable. And our brain's job is to protect us from fear, from things that don't feel good, from the unknown. And all of this can be unknown. But just like any other skill, you might not be the best at first, but no one is. So no one is born a natural salesperson. So just give yourself grace, keep putting in the reps, and you'll get better. It will get better and you will get better. But this is a new skill. But it is a skill that no matter whether you're negotiating with an 8-year-old or whether you're negotiating with a Fortune 500 CEO, it is a skill that will serve you in life. So it's worth putting in the reps and having the soreness afterwards and just standing back up and going back in the gym. It'll be worth it.
One of the things that came to mind, that I'm guessing, what is the role of confidence in this equation? You come off and you are very confident, and maybe like, well, duh. So it's a compliment, though I'm not, sometimes the most obvious things other people admire, and that's just how you sound. And I suspect maybe that's an important part of sales or any communication, if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And you just talk about that, because I sense that some members of my community, Bethany would say, so Ramon, how much is it? Bethany.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep.
So you get where I'm going. Take it away.
That's what happens. That's what happens. And everything else you're on here. And then when you ask for money, you shrink. And so this is the mindset, and this is the work, and the work is never done. And a lot of it has to do with limiting beliefs. They could have been how we saw our parents work. It could have been what we heard from teachers or people that we admired. It might not have been things we were told. It was just what we saw. So this shows up when you're going from offering something for free to charging. And you're like, oh, well, I've been giving it for free and all these things, which means you have to value that. And if you don't value it, the other person feels it. So they can't pinpoint it. They're like, Ramon was great, but something's off. Like something is off, which means when you go from 0 to 500, you do the work. When you go to 500 to 5,000, you do the work again. When you go from 5,000 to 50,000, you do the work again. But the more experience you have, the more value you deliver. And the more certifications you get, the more education you get, the more hours you put in, the more your confidence will build. But you will always get rattled when you go to that next number, and you have to remember that the work is never done. So you always have to do the work, because Ramon, how much mindset plays into so many things when it comes to being a small business owner. And this is no different. But this is a harder muscle, though, because a lot of us have limiting beliefs around money.
Absolutely.
We have fear of losing it. We have fear of what's going to happen when we get it. There's all these things that happen at a subconscious level that you might not even realize are happening. So you have to tell a different story. But the beautiful thing about the brain is we can reprogram it and we can rewire it. And stories that we may believe to have been true aren't written in the sky. They're not written on our destiny. We can shape that and we can change that, but you got to do the work.
I love that. Everybody, this has been Bethany Nonami. Definitely go to LinkedIn, her favorite place. You can hear her voice like, Ramon, my favorite place is LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, BETHANIE, Bethany Nonami, NONAMI, for all the things to help you with this discussion and more that we talked about. My name is Ramon Ray. This is The Rundown with Ramon. Get to know me better at RamonRay.com or zoneofgenius.com. Bethany, will you come back on The Rundown with Ramon and help us with more advice and tips?
Absolutely. I would love to.
I love it. Everybody, again, thanks for listening to The Rundown with Ramon.